Great. And that was starting the second half of the webinar on AutoHotkey and getting text from any program. And I had just mentioned in the other hour this summit. Oh, I guess I should share my screen, huh? So this summit, which is in Raleigh, North Carolina, on April 26th, and they're focusing on like automating the workplace, or I think it's about also like an environmental one, right? But how can you basically be more efficient in the workplace? So if anyone wants to attend that, I think it'd be pretty cool. Now on the chat, anybody have any comments, questions about what we covered? Let's start there with the low-hanging fruit. Somehow I lost my chat window, but there we go. And Jackie is giving us that code, that his version of that Tesseract, everything he just demonstrated. Well, not everything, but the class he has. But did anybody have any questions? And if not, does anybody have anything they've been working on lately that they want to share?
Yeah. Very happy to view some of whatever you guys are doing. Streamlined version of Tesseract. I love that name, Joe. You make it sound so. Yeah, but yeah, maybe that is actually what it is. At least it's stripped of whatever.
Hey, Geek Dude. So hold on. I was going to say, let me look at Chris's thing here real quick. But if you're interested, if you're up for it, if you want to demo a little bit of your Chrome class, that'd be cool. Because I just mentioned it and showed the links, but I didn't actually demo anything.
Yeah, that would be great. A lot of capabilities. Yeah, maybe Joe, to Chris, maybe some of the other webinars. At least the one where you do it from a plain text file. We had a full one on that, right? How to actually get text from files.
Sure. Well, we were manipulating. That's it's funny. I didn't even think about that, but that is a good one. So our webinars are all ordered here. That was parsing text from plain text files. So that is for reading in, files that are already text. You can read them in, you can manipulate them. John demonstrated his I can't remember if it's a class or what, but his CSV tool, I think, on this one, right? Isn't that what we did? But it's a good, easy one. There's also some other, this text file, TF1, is pretty awesome library for manipulating text. The CSV library is, that's not Sean's. CSV Buddy is OBJ CSV, I'm sorry, and CSV Buddy are Jean's. For manipulating text, and then of course, you also have other things around that, like regular expressions, which we covered. But for an intro one, the webinar, and there's the link to the first hour here. I don't know why there's no link. Do we not have a second hour in this one? I'll have to look.
Maybe not. Maybe not. I can't really remember. It's almost a year ago. So
yeah. But the other thing I'd say is, depending on the topic you're trying to learn, the other one, which you'll if you've registered, you'll get an email with all the links, everything we covered. But there was somewhere in here. So here's the one in Excel, and that's a good intro of, if you've never used COM from Microsoft, it's a good one that kind of covers an intro to COM and then focuses on Excel. And then we have another one for web scraping with IE. Yeah, they're outside my window. And someone mentioned the other day, I'm like, I got to close the window, but I'm in Texas, and so I have 1 month a year I can open the window.
Yeah, I kind of like that, but that's maybe just me. I love actually being able to hear the world.
But that's a good starting point, I think. the other big thing I would say is if you've never done anything with COM, start with using Excel is a great one. Outlook is also a little confusing, but Excel or Word are not too hard to learn. Web pages are all built differently, and you have to learn the DOM, which is the document object model, and it's a learning curve, to say it mildly, right? Each page is built differently by everybody, and there's a lot of other things going on there. So if you've never done anything with COM, I would start with Excel.
Yeah, I'd say Excel, because most people that, at least if you've worked a little with Excel before, can pretty easily grasp the way of the columns and the rows, and like how that actually works and functions together and stuff like that. But yeah, with web pages, as you said yourself, Joe, the thing with that is if you had actually started when web pages was a new thing, you would have had an easier time, because they were simpler, but because both the systems on the back end and on the front end and all of that stuff has become so much more involved that now it is really a learning curve. You're so right, Joe.
Yeah. So, and I also have, it looks like 19 specific examples here on using Excel. These are more bite-sized, right? So they're smaller on just step-by-step what you're doing. And then I just have some real little examples of what I've done.
Yeah, you have some great videos and stuff there.
Thanks.
So,
someone asked, Todd was asking, because he saw that you're using SciTE and I'm using Studio. And honestly, we both, Jackie and I, happen to both be big SciTE fans for years. And then I'd say roughly a year ago, I switched over, maybe not that long, but somewhere in there. I still love SciTE. It does a lot of things great. Studio, if you're doing stuff in AutoHotkey, it does some amazing things. Yeah, it's built in AutoHotkey for AutoHotkey. SciTE is definitely more handling a lot of different languages. Actually, Maestrith started to bring in, like, it'll handle HTML and XML and a couple things, including the IntelliSense. But SciTE, I have like 80 to 90 languages that I can import and have the IntelliSense and everything. And so it's really flexible.
Yeah, I'd say I've seen Studio as well more than once, and I truly do like what he's done with it. And at one point when I get to it, you know how that is, I'll probably switch as well.
It's a learning curve,
thing,
though,
Yeah, you're right, because the thing with the SciTE is that it's almost feels as if it was Notepad. It just has more. Yeah. And I switched to it from Notepad when I'd been writing in Notepad for maybe 6 months or something like that. I was like, that can't be right.
I also in SciTE, actually in both. So in SciTE, one of the things I loved was I have a function that I can do stuff, and instead of creating a GUI, I can set my output to here, which I thought was just awesome, because instead of making these complicated GUIs to display my text and what I'm doing, I can just leverage this output window. Well, I talked to Maestrith, and he's like, yeah, that's I can kind of see the value. So he built that into Studio, and so now it does it. And then the other thing there's a couple things in Studio I'll say is, if even if I'm using like something from a different library, but here I'll do it here, and I'll start typing XL_handle. So that's my library. Now see the color coding, and see right up above, you can see my function, right? If I start typing here, I'm gonna say the, and then a comma. See how the highlighting puts me at the second one? When you're in a really long function, like a message box one or something, because it also works for commands and functions, and like this Excel one is my own one. It'll show me where I am in that function, and that is just kick ass. The other thing I can do, I think, is I can highlight it. I think it's Alt F1. I can click it, and it will pop me to the include, of that function of where it is in the other file. So they're related. But so there's some things I really love about Studio that's like, once you get used to it, it's really cool. But it takes a while to get used to.
Yeah, I'd say that this is one of the things with the project that I'm working on currently becoming so large that it's now becoming a matter of me taking the time and pulling it all apart,
Uh-huh.
so I can include all of. Yeah, maybe I'm not really set on how I'm gonna do it, but it'll most likely be something with related functions in different separate files, something like that. But to make that really work for me, I need to be able to jump around a little bit more easily than what I feel I can do in SciTE.
Mhm.
So that might be the time that I actually make the switch.
The other thing he's done, Jackie, which you really might like, I think I disabled it because I didn't like it because I just don't do too often, but he has a history. So if I hit Alt left, it'll go back even within the same file. If I had jumped around, it will jump to where I was last. If I was in a different file, it'll jump to that file. But if I was in this file somewhere else, it'll jump to that spot. And I'm like, that I can see the value in it. I just don't work on big enough things file wise. And when I'm in a certain file, I want to switch between files with my hotkey, not switch inside the file to my last history of where I was.
Yeah, I could totally use that, but again, the size of it, not because I'm saying it's the biggest project, but it's one of the biggest that I've worked on myself at least, and it has now extended to, let me just see, 8,400 lines
Wow.
with how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 11 included AutoHotkey libraries, including GDI plus, object register active, class rich edit, extract to folder, any stuff like that. And of course the small TASRAT one that you saw. And a few others, but again, it's becoming a bother to actually go from line 7,777 to maybe line 2,999,
Right.
something like that, and making a small edit, and then hey, now I passed in a new parameter and going and actually, yeah, it's just a mess.
I don't use it also, but he added something else which Jackie you might like is you can click in here, and I don't know the hotkey to do it, but you can start. There'll be another window or a window will pop up where you put in your notes, and so you can choose whether you annotate in here or this stays super clean and you have your notes stored somewhere else in a different GUI, but it's still when this is here it's visible. And I'm like, oh, that I can see how that's pretty cool because you can have some verbose notes, right? And yet you're not making your code look crazy.
Yeah, yeah. Of course, that could make good sense, but again, I'm not sure I would actually end up using it because I need to always open it in AHK Studio. Yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe.
Yeah, I know, and I saw Todd's post about it does a lot of things automatically, which I wholeheartedly agree. It took me a while to get used to. It closes your quotes for you. So if I say the equals, and I put in that one quote, it ended my quotes for me, right? But I'm so used to putting in the second one, it always screwed me up until I finally got used to it. But you can turn that off. And so that's the thing is like, the thing I don't like about Studio for me personally is like, I have to go find, there's the menus are up here, but you have to use this Omni search and hit Alt and then I can search for like braces. I can turn on and off, and I don't remember exactly what it is I'm searching for. Right, the search is good. Don't get me wrong, because it's a fuzzy search, but it's highly customizable. It takes some getting used to. I'm not going to kid you.
Yeah, I'd also say to Todd, go with the Studio if you're just starting out or if you don't have a preference already, because it does help more, and I'm gonna dare say it's more up to date because the SciTE one with the AutoHotkey in there hasn't really been extensively updated for a few years now, actually. Yeah. So yeah, go with the one that's being actively developed.
Oh,
and,
the other big thing I would say is there's two things. Is one is if I create my own function, I think it's Control-Shift-N. Apparently not. Oh, there it goes.
Apparently not.
So there it goes. So see how it that was the name of my function, right? When I save this, it ports that out, and then it puts somewhere in here is an include. Now it included it, right? So I can automatically move my functions out. Then this is the really cool spot. This is what made me think about it, Jackie, when you were talking about all your things, is I can say, I think it's not publish. I can publish, and when I do a publish, oh, that's interesting. Oh, I think I have an error, so that's not its fault. But it takes everything that I need and puts it in my clipboard. And so if I had includes, it brings all of that in and puts it on my clipboard. And so I can post it like on the forum, or I can give it to someone. I don't have to go find those includes and put them in there as well, right? So if you're using includes, it can be a really great, easy way to, one is to create the includes, and two, to get them. But also here, which I hide them, but here you can see which files you have includes to, which is also really nice. So you can jump right to it, right, very easily.
Did you actually have includes to all of those? I only saw the one include my new function.
I do, because I'm using a message box. That's actually Maestrift's message box. This is my Excel library.
Okay, so they ain't really included by the line include, but they're used because you have them in your standard library.
That's an excellent point. Is even if it's not used with an include, you still need it, and it detects that you need it, right?
Okay. So it's a dependency list, actually. Yeah.
But like this menu here, I customized. Also, I can even say here in split control. Let's say I want to put something on the right, and I'm going to put in another scintilla window. Now I can have it side by side. So if this was a really long file, I could scroll down here and stay here on the same file, right? Or open a different file.
But again, we are totally in agreement that the Studio one is just more. It is more.
It's more.
Just put it there.
Yeah. And I still on a daily basis use SciTE a lot, right? Especially for opening large text files. It's kick ass. And you laugh because I love Studio, but I had done so much work with SciTE that on my page I have, I don't know how many videos on customizing SciTE. Wow, 18, right? Where I was, I've really personalized it exactly to do what I want. And it did some of the things that Maestrift has built into Studio, but yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I saw what was just Greek, not Greek, geek dude. He posted a link to the GitHub, which has some great stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, SciTE. I'd say at the beginning, because it is just simpler. It's you don't feel overwhelmed, but at the same time, like, which is, I think Todd mentioned it. I know Jackie's mentioned it too, and I went through it. Once you start learning one way to do things, it's hard to switch, right? And Studio does a lot of other things that, like, I would rather have just learned it using that, because then I don't have to learn a new way to do some stuff.
Yeah, one of the things that you also do, at least here, which is just fine, is that you have so different themes on your two windows. So it also really takes you away when you switch. You specifically, Joe, you have here where it's just a sea of white, and over in the other you have this more dark theme, and maybe even more colors within the lecture. But still,
I had somewhere in here is the basically I overwrote the themes in SciTE, And now for whatever reason, I wanted to change, because now I got used to those other colors, right? To like the softness of this. And I can't get my site to go back and revert and use like the darker colors.
Yeah, and you have probably modified it way too much.
That's the problem, is I did a lot.
Yeah.
And I just don't use it that often. I mean, I use it a lot, but not for programming and AutoHotkey. I use it for, looking at big text. And one of the things I'd say, if you didn't know it, and both of them do it, actually Studio does a little bit better at it. So I'll duplicate this, is what's really cool is if you hold down the Alt key and drag with your mouse, you can do, like that to me is just badass, right? You can also do regular expression search replaces within SciTE and Studio. The one thing that Studio can do that SciTE can't, and I don't know it well enough to demonstrate it well enough, but if these were different lengths, like typing was sometimes at different spots, in now there's no way for me to do this. If I wanted to get at the beginning of typing and type multi-line in SciTE, I can't do that. In Studio, I can say find the word typing, and then start. Well, let me try it, because it to me is like, holy cow, that's awesome. So I'm gonna find typing. So see how I'm everywhere, and then there's I think I hit escape once, and now I'm
at the end of it. You were at the end of it. Yeah.
Yeah, I should have hit a space first instead of, or something, or arrowed over maybe. But you can see how I can grab it anywhere, right?
Yeah.
Which you can't do that in. I mean, for me, that almost never happens, right? But when it does, boy, it's nice being able to do that.
Yeah. Couldn't you place your cursor with the control key, Alt Control or something like that, in SciTE?
No, I mean you can on one, but you can't on all of them.
Yeah. Apparently you can do.
I'm wrong. Wow, I didn't know that. Yay.
That's probably a built-in function into the actual Scintilla control.
Yeah.
So
yeah, because they both are using Scintilla for their backbone. I don't know how to say it better.
Yeah, that's.
But I can't.
That's probably a good way of saying it.
I don't think I could have found all of the typings and then done it. But you're right. I can hit Control and do it.
Yeah. I'm not saying that you can either.
Yeah.
But you can still mark all, and that's probably a function like that. And
it's good enough, right? I mean,
if I do a new one and say typing, and then typing, and then I do a search for typing. I know you can't see what I'm doing, but I'm just talking to it. Yeah. I can mark all of them, and I don't know what I can actually do with it. But
it'll mark it. If there were blank lines in between, you would see that they didn't have that mark on the left. But it's a highlighter kind of to say where one was found. Yeah.
I'm just saying that most likely the function is just almost there, but they haven't utilized it. Yeah.
But yeah, they're both. I mean, I love both of them, right? And Jack and I also agree on this. Notepad++ is also an equal viable solution, right? It's
fun. And again, Notepad++, a lot of people use that because it has more. Let's say you write in different languages or have other setups for different types of stuff. Notepad++ could probably be an easy choice for you if you already have it.
These are the ones that I use frequently enough where I say, have the IntelliSense available for them. But I have like 80 something languages for SciTE that I could load like this and have it, automatically change what it is I'm looking at, treat it differently.
Yeah.
We actually have a webinar on SciTE and a webinar on Studio. So if you really care, you can watch those to see all the bells and whistles. But they're both solid. I mean, the thing is, don't use just Notepad, right? It's so much easier to have some good tools. Both of them have debuggers that can be helpful. Yeah.
The thing with Notepad, I'd say what it kind of helped me understand at the beginning is that these scripts here, those are just plain text files.
Yeah.
So at least that's what I got out of it in the beginning, that there is no actual secret ingredients, so to speak, to the editor that you use. Just use the one that you feel, the most comfortable with.
Chris, you're saying thank you. I'm curious. Do you use it a lot? Cool. Yeah, Jackie and I, when we first started talking, we couldn't come up with any sort of an argument of, at the time, it was just between SciTE and Notepad++, and we're like, they're equally powerful. I used to use Notepad++ years ago for viewing my SPSS stuff too, because I could actually have it execute. So that's the other thing in this SciTE tool. I had it where I could open up Python and execute my Python code from within SciTE, and it was really cool to stick with one editor and be able to switch between languages and still have it executing stuff.
Yeah, I'd say I never actually got to use Notepad++ because I just went, I don't remember, but somewhere on the AutoHotkey forum, and at that point, nobody had really sat down and said, this is the one you should use.
Yeah.
But as soon as you actually search for editor or something like that, it was the SciTE for AutoHotkey that came up, and
yeah,
that's why I've been using that ever since. But yeah, I've seen quite a lot of people leaning toward one or the other and sticking to that. But yeah, again, just use the one that makes you feel like it's the easiest.
Yeah, Chris, I was the same way with SciTE. I knew it so well, and I was so used to it. I could work so fast that it was really hard to make the switch. And then I kept watching Maestria because he helps me do some programming stuff, and I'd watch him fly through things, and certain things I'm like, those are huge benefits that it took me a while to get used to. Don't get me wrong, but I'm really glad I made the switch. But I really don't develop anymore in SciTE. I do the developing in Studio, but I'll still use this to. The other thing that's nice is often I'll just use this is a second window, and it's just easier than splitting because I have multiple screens, and I'll just throw SciTE with one version somewhere else, and I can look at it, and it's nice.
The Studio one, when you actually send off the function to be an include. Did it take the function name and try and?
Yes.
Yeah.
It suggests it as being the name of the file.
Yeah.
But you get to still choose. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I just didn't see if it actually did that.
Yeah, it did. Good. I just hit it too fast.
Yeah. I would say one thing I would be interested in doing instead was to actually put the include on the line where the function was.
I'm trying to remember. That might be a thing.
No. I
don't recall. He's got so much stuff built into this that often when I'm talking to him, he even forgets if he.
Yeah.
He's got. I don't know how to do it, but he's got one that increments. So if you had like multiple rows and you type a number, it'll increment the numbers across the instances for you.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing I would say, and he found we developed a workaround for it, but hot strings don't work great inside Studio, ironically enough. So if I type, actually I've converted them now to a way that will, so that'll dump it in. But often, if I didn't do that, if I did that in the normal hot string way, it would not have pasted all that for me. Whereas in SciTE, it does it really well.
Yeah. probably some of the handling that he has that's going on behind the scenes.
The other thing that I did, by the way, and Maestrith adopted it, is if you're on a word and that word is elsewhere, it will show you, right, the other instances of it, which is really helpful. And his and here.
Oh, that's the underline there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And so actually, like when I was doing Python, Python's case sensitive, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in SciTE, I left it where if I do those don't show as the same, because at the time I was doing a lot of Python stuff, but now let me go off of it. There it goes. Now they're the same, right?
Does that only look down?
No, it looks everywhere.
But when you had the lower one,
I needed to click off of it because I had just typed it and I hadn't moved my cursor.
Fair enough. So it hadn't registered as an edit. Fair enough.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe if I had put in, let me see if I hit space here. Well, now I got to get, I just got to get off the word and come back in.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, but you know what? So sorry. So here's the other one. Now I did incorporate this into SciTE somewhat too. There's a plugin I used, but a badass thing for developing, and this is one of those, regardless of how good you are, to me, I love, is like here I created a variable called the, right? Let's pretend this program, the script, is thousands of lines long and I'm somewhere else. And I'm like, oh, I made a variable. Oh, it was the. See it in the list here?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's about the long dog, right? Now, anywhere I am, if I start typing the, oh, there it is, right? I don't have to go try to remember what that variable was. And that's another one.
Can you go to a new line and start again? The is still there, but it's no longer a variable.
Well, I have the elsewhere in my file somewhere.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So see, it's right there, right? It just looks at it. It's not looking for just variables. It takes an index of all the words, and then has them available.
Yeah.
I think
that's probably also way simpler than actually trying to determine if it's a variable or not.
Yeah.
So yeah, fair enough.
But that one, boy, when you're working in different files, you can't remember what's what. That sucks.
Yeah. Does it actually look into includes as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So I would have been able to use it earlier when I couldn't remember how to actually create a bitmap from a file.
With the caveat, because actually I think it was this morning or it was yesterday, I forget which, I was on a call with Maestrith, and I'm like, it was yesterday because I was demonstrating something with Excel, and I'm like, hey, I thought this should pull up. Oh, now look, now it's working. Oh, that's what it was. My indexes were, but you know what, they're in here now. Let me get rid of the rest of this and save it. I'll save as a different file just to be safe. Yeah. All right, now, if I start typing XL underscore, it for some reason, and right now he thinks it's just on my computer. There's something weird. It's not doing what you just asked, Jackie. But he's like, no, it should be doing that. So he's going to look at why. But again, I got a lot. I have a big library of functions, and we just don't know why it's doing that. But it should peek into there for me and offer them up.
Yeah, because they are in your standard library.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, actually, I'm curious if I said include. Oh, that's interesting. Huh. I didn't know it did that. I don't usually type out my includes.
Because it actually wanted to let you select the file to include.
It looked like it.
Yeah. So you didn't actually have to type in. Yeah.
Well, I would have had to navigate to it.
Yeah.
I think I got that right. Yeah. Huh. I thought maybe if I used it as a actual.
Yeah, I totally got the idea.
So yeah, he's going to look at it. I'm sure, you know, it's just something off with mine that it's not pulling him in, but it's supposed to.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So we'll see that in the next version.
That's right.
That's fair enough. Yeah.
And we have
I think people are slowly drifting off. Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, let's do that.
Cool. Well, thank you guys all for attending, and for whoever's watching this later. I'll get these things available this evening and send out the email with the links to them. And as always, if you have ideas for upcoming webinars, you know, email us. Especially, I'd also love if you have a script to highlight, you know, something you found that's cool. You bet, Sean. Please forward me that and say let's feature this, because we've been doing these things for a while now, and it's not as easy to find like little nuggets to share.
We're very happy, and you don't need to have done something spectacular, as long as it's something unique or something that's helped you. We're happy to show it off, because it might be able to help someone else. So yeah.
I almost demonstrated one. I thought, because I wrote one the other day. I call it prepender. I can basically be in Excel, highlight a bunch of cells, hit a button, and say I can type something, and it will prepend them in front of all the words that were there, right? And I'm like, for what I was doing, it saved me so much time. I'm like, you know, I don't know how helpful that would be for the rest of the world, so I figured that's not worth mentioning. But the concept overall isn't terrible, right? You might have something like that. But yeah. All right, everyone. Thank you.
Yeah.
Have a good night.
Thank you all.
Bye.
Bye.